Welcome to Mindset Matters. Hope you've had a really great day. So today, what I really wanted to talk about is how sometimes the way we've been parented can really affect us in the future. I'll give you some examples of my own personal experience, but I don't want to sound like I'm blaming my parents, because it's just I feel like a lot of times it's just the way they're brought up. So it's really hard to I don't blame them at all. I don't blame my mom for the way she parented, because I feel like that's just how she was raised and she's never seen anything different. So it's not like she was able to compare and stuff. So being brought up in an Asian parenting, this is not I'm not going to talk right now about my biological father, how he was, because he was abusive. So he's out of I'm not going to talk about the way he parented me, because he didn't really parent me, he was just abusive, but it's more like how my mom did. So aside from the few years where he was just traumatizing me, the other times my mom, I feel like she's a type of typical Asian parent who will give you the best food, the best of everything. She's the type of person who will starve just to give you a better meal. And she would not buy anything for herself and make sure that you have enough food and everything. But what I feel a lot of times Asian parents can lack is the understanding of mental health. I feel I've heard a lot of people talk about that, where they're just not brought up to really think that mental health is a thing. So it's hard for us to connect with them in the that intimate way where you feel you can tell them everything. I don't mean intimate as in intimate. I meant just feeling you can tell them everything, feeling you're comfortable to share your emotions with them. I've always felt it was very hard, because whenever I did, I was made fun of. It feels they don't know quite how to react to it. And what I get is if I show any emotion, I tend to get laughed at or made fun of, to the point where I'm I can't share anything with them, because if I do, I get made fun of. So why would I do that? So what ends up happening is that I would just be I would talk to them everything's great, I just be very superficial in that way, that I just have never been able to share with them any any really, really in-depth conversations, because there's always this part of me that's really scared of, what if they laugh at me? And what I find really weird is, I don't know if anyone else can relate to me, because I've just been noticing this all my life, that it's uncomfortable for me even when they praise me. When they say something nice about me, it almost feels too awkward for me to handle it. I guess it's similar to, I've heard of a lot of people say they feel weird when their Asian parents will hug them or anything like that. Just to tell them that you love them is one of the most awkward conversations. And I absolutely relate. I cannot hug my mother. It's just so weird. But I also know that if she compliments me, it also feels really weird. If she's saying oh, you're such a nice person and I'm just oh God, I can't handle this. This just feels so weird, because I'm so used to her saying, oh, you didn't do this well, did this well. And sometimes as parents, they get older, they start to realize I should have been more positive. And I feel sometimes that's happened with my mum, is that she's noticed, and sometimes she'll say something really positive, but my mind cannot accept it. It's oh God, I cannot handle it. It feels just as awkward as your parents saying I love you when they have never done that before, the first time. It feels so weird. I feel it's just this part of your brain that just because it's not something you're used to when you're a little kid, you kind of just shut off that part of your brain, and then it's very awkward. I've always had trouble calling my parents by their titles, mum. I've never been able to say mum, especially the Chinese word that's mum, because it sounds really endearing, right? But I just have never been able to do that. And it's weird, because I noticed when I was at school, I noticed that my friend was able to thank her and say all these nice things to her, but I was unable to do that. Like, for any, like, birthdays and everything, when I wrote a card, it was just really like, hey, you know, happy birthday, or I would never be able to say, like, my true feelings. Like, I just couldn't do that. But I noticed that my friend was able to do that. Like, she would write a card to say to my mom and say, oh, I really appreciate you, you've just been so, you know, just really, really heartfelt words. And I've just never been able to do that. And I just kept thinking that, oh, you know, it's just, maybe I'm just weird or something. But then I realized this is all connected. Like, there's this thing that about us, it's like when we're used to, like, a certain way of them, you know, parenting us in a certain way, like maybe they're really focusing on the negatives, and it really is just how they're brought up, and they're really nervous for you, so they tend to, like, focus on what you're not doing rather than what you're doing. So in my childhood, I got all those things that usually, like, kids, like, in my situation would get, like, comparisons and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, look at her, look at, like, my friend's daughter, look at her, like, she's got A's everywhere, what about you? You're getting B's, not good. And then they'll be like, you know, do you want to be their cleaner when you're older? You know, that was said many times. Like, I was always told that I'm going to end up being her cleaner if I didn't, you know, upgrade my results, you know, my test results and stuff like that, upgrade, you know, that kind of stuff. So I just thought, like this, I feel like this is a very common thing. I feel like maybe a lot of Asian parents, like, watch that off each other, and they kind of just think, okay, this is how we parent. They never seen anything different. But for me, because I've grown really, I grew up in, like, Australia, and the environment there with the parents and everything is very different. I've also seen a lot of movies where parents show love in a very different way. And because I've seen the difference, and I've, you know, had interactions with people who are very positive and very, very just extremely kind, very, very encouraging, I can really feel the difference. And because I've seen the difference, I know, okay, maybe this is the better way of doing things. But our parents just didn't have that. Like, I don't think they've ever even seen anything positive until maybe, you know, maybe even, like, now they've finally seen some examples, but before that, maybe they haven't. So I feel like it's just unfortunate that they were raised in this way, that mental health didn't matter at all, because I know that everything, like, my mum's always concerned about your physical health. It's always about your exercising, your heart and everything. Like, everything is always focused on the physical aspect of your health. Like, she'll always be, like, worried about what I'm eating, whether I'm eating good or bad, how much I'm exercising. But it's like, she has never ever, like, taken any concern with the mental health, which stress can be very, very dangerous for your heart, right? Because if you have constant stress, you sleep poorly and everything. But for my mom, it was always like, oh, she's always just worried about whether, like, she'll think that the main cause of poor sleep has to do with, like, you eating bad, like you're eating too much fat or sugar or something, which is, like, you know, part of it does, I do believe that what you eat is, like, causes certain things, and, like, of course, like, if you don't eat healthy, it's gonna, like, cause problems with things. But what she doesn't understand is that stress and, like, anxiety can really, really affect a person, everything, to the point where, you know, it's just difficult to handle. And it's, like, even worse than physical illnesses sometimes. I find that mental stress can be a lot worse because of just the toll it puts on your body. Like, it feels like when you're stressed about things, you can't eat very well, and it's like the sleeping is the worst, because I always have really, really trouble sleeping. And I notice every time I'm worried about something, or I'm, like, got something on my mind, I cannot sleep. Like, if I go to bed feeling anxious, or like during an argument or anything, it's like I'm certain, okay, I can't sleep, I'm gonna have to, like, figure something out. Whereas when I go to bed feeling neutral, or, like, very just content, like, not even excited, but content, that I can sleep very easily. That's just how things always have been. But for my mum, she'll think that, oh, she saw, like, at one stage, she saw my grandmother have a stroke, and then she just couldn't sleep for many, many nights. But the thing is, she had a stroke after my grandfather passed away. So she would just think that, oh, she wasn't healthy, so she had a stroke. But what she doesn't actually seem to understand is maybe it was also the stress of losing my grandfather that caused really caused this big chaos. And then she suffered a stroke. We can't say what caused it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that the death of my grandfather contributed to a lot, because she was fine, and then as soon as he passed away, she had the stroke. And then because of the stroke, she couldn't sleep. But my mum just always thought the stroke was caused by poor health, bad eating habits. And because of that, then that's causing you to not sleep. Whereas I feel like a big part of not sleeping is also caused by poor mental health, stress, things like that. So that's unfortunate that maybe just Asian parents are more like that, because when I used to live in China, I noticed a lot of parents were like that. They were really worried about their kids' future. It feels like it's so competitive there for the kids that if you're not the top of the top of the top of the top, then you're gonna starve. I could literally feel the stress and the pressure. The reason why they want you to do so well in all your academics is because they literally think that if you can't get into the middle school, you're going to end up on the streets starving to death, because you won't have a job, because you won't be able to get into high school, and then you can't get into university, which is the only way you'd be able to survive. So I feel like that's one of their biggest things, is they're stressed out of their brains. So it's that's why they have this high expectation. Oh, you got to do this, do that. You got to do all this extra work and stuff. And 92% is nowhere near as good. You have to get 100 out of 100 or whatever it is. It feels like that's just the way they're wired to think, because of that competitiveness in those countries, and just how stressed they are about whether you would be able to survive or not, because there's also no support. If they die and you don't have a job, you die too. You'd be starved to death. That's just their way of thinking. And I remember how worried my mum was about me and whether I could do anything when I was a kid, because I was so severely shy. When I was a little kid, about 7 years old, I was so shy. I couldn't even ask the teacher to go to the toilet. I would literally be rather piss my pants than actually ask the teacher to go to the toilet. And she knew that because of that I was that shy, she was really concerned whether I could get a job. She decided to move to Australia despite a huge risk at the time, because she knew that my biological father was very abusive, but she still came to Australia, giving up a very stable job, because she thought that this place would be far better for my future. And she was absolutely right. This place is far better, because if I was there, I'm pretty sure I would have, I don't know, I probably would have been scared as a mosquito. No, mosquitoes aren't scared. Scared as a mouse, because just I noticed the school environment is so different. Everyone all the teachers are so angry. They're just yelling all the time and just really, really nasty to the students often. I don't know if things are different now. I have no idea, because this was when I went to school, which was 1994, 1993. That's a long time ago, so things could have changed. But there was definitely a huge difference. And because our parents are so programmed to be so concerned about your well-being, it actually took my mum many, many years to be okay with me not doing the typical doctor lawyer thing. Because I do remember back in the day, long time ago, she used to talk to me, oh, I think you're going to be I think lawyer is the best. Doctor, you'll definitely have a job if you're a doctor. And then she'll be oh, maybe accounting. It's always those jobs that they think is going to be one that guarantees your future. Anything artistic can be thrown out the window. Art and creative stuff doesn't exist, because you're not going to find a job. And it's and to them, the idea of not finding a job is so terrifying that they just, they you have to do your academics, you have to do your best, you have to be really good at math. And I've never been that good with it. So I feel a lot of times with that kind of pressure and that childhood, it can really affect us in the way that we might just feel really, I don't know, negative about ourselves. I feel one of the things that I've always gone through is feeling really stupid about random things. If I talk to someone, I automatically feel I'm I must be really stupid. And I hate that because like later on, like this is years ago when I used to feel that way a lot more than I do now. I'm much better now, but I also haven't been in a situation where I'm in a big group of people, because it's the worst when I'm in a group that I would just feel like I'm the idiot. Like, why would anyone want to look at me? That's the kind of feeling I get if I'm with more than just one person that I know. If it's someone that I don't know, then I definitely feel like, oh my god, I'm the total idiot. Like, I would not even try to speak in that group. I would just be completely silent and just listen to people, and you know, because I just feel like there's nothing I can add that's going to make things interesting, because I just felt so negative about myself. And a lot of times that could have a lot to do with how your parents talked to you when you were younger. Like if they kept saying like, oh, you never do anything right, oh, like, even though they were trying to maybe motivate you, they're trying to get you to do better, but what they don't realize is that what they're saying is making you feel absolute shit about yourself. And when you feel shit about yourself, there's all these other problems that come. Like you'll feel really easily like angered, maybe, like you might feel jealous really easily, like someone else's success. Like you might just look at someone's success, like someone is doing really well, and automatically, because you have that like upbringing and that mindset, automatically you'll feel like someone else's success is a huge threat to you, that oh my god, they are good, therefore I suck. Have you ever thought that? Because I have all the time. I remember I used to watch these like new YouTubers, and I'd be like so jealous that they're getting all this freaking views and subscribers, and I'm doing this every day and I'm barely getting. But now, guess what happened? I am so thankful. I am so freaking thankful I didn't blow up like them, because I know I wasn't ready for it. Because let me explain this. I know at one stage, like before I took my long break, because I did take a long break and I was like, oh, I'm burnt out, I can't think of anything to film, whatever, so I stopped filming for a long time. Before that, my idea of success was very different. So I saw success as, I have to get a certain amount of subscribers, I have to get a certain amount of views, otherwise I suck and I'm not worthy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's just my thought, and I'm pretty sure like 80% of people have those thoughts if they've ever tried to run a channel. So I went from that to actually really liking the slow grind, and I'm actually I don't want to, you know, blow up and stuff, because of how much I realized that the stress of certain situations would have affected me in the past. They don't affect me now, I will explain why, because there's a big reason why they don't affect me now, but they would have before. Because before, I've put so much emphasis on getting big. I wanted to be like a big YouTuber. I wanted to succeed. I wanted to like be like, you know, those really famous YouTubers who have like millions of subscribers and like everyone loved them, because for some reason my self-esteem was so low that I saw like the only way I could ever prove to myself that I'm good enough is if I have all these people say that I'm good enough. So I think that's a thing that a lot of people also fall into the trap of, that you feel like you're shit. You know, if you've been brought up feeling shit about yourself, you just feel like the only way that's going to take that away is if I have like thousands of people telling me I'm really great, right? That's just normal thinking. Like that's what I thought. I thought my problems will all go away when I have so many people say all these things. But in reality, what I don't realize or didn't realize is like those also will come with negative things, and it's also going to just be empty in the end, because if you don't have a certain way that you feel about yourself, nobody could really get through in a way, like especially in a positive way, because we're kind of wired to detect threat, and we're wired to take in all the negatives before we do the positives. So we're always going to focus on that one negative, and without like, you know, it's like I've heard this so many times that you'll get 100 positive comments, one negative, that negative will ruin it, right? But if you think about it, it makes sense. If you think about it from a survival point of view, we don't want to be freaking threatened. Like, you know, we don't want to be killed. So if we see this as a threat, our mind is going to like go, oh, yeah, right away. Like you're not safe. So, and something really, really cool that I remember hearing is that we haven't been around long enough to change our way that our brain is actually made to not care about things like this. So a lot of times we're just going to care because that's just how we're wired. So regardless of what people think, oh, we're weak or whatever, that's just how we're programmed. I can't just change my programming, right? I would love to. I'd love to like click a button and just like not care. And then like you don't care about anything. That would be great. So a lot of times I do feel like what works really well for me is do just put a blindfold on. I don't mean literally, I just mean put a blindfold on as in just focus solely on the creating. And to me, that is just so liberating. And honestly, I feel really good because for the past 6-7 months, I've been able to create content in a way that I've never done before because I'm not looking, or like I have my fake blindfold on, right? As in I'm not looking at a lot of stats at all. I just feel really happy creating the stuff that I love. I'm creating this because this is literally what's happened today to make me think about this situation. I filmed yesterday about writing a book because that's what I'm doing right now. And the other day I filmed some like random shit in the house or whatever, like gardening, because that was what I was doing. And it feels so good to actually do the stuff I love and not feel like, oh, it's just a piece of shit that nobody cares about. Like, I love feeling creative and I love not having all these outside sources changing my mind. Like, I just want to have this one voice that is me saying, this is what I love doing. I don't want to be persuaded by different things. Like, for example, I know like I don't know how this happened, but I made a video years ago, like, called Belly Fat Jiggle. I did that as, like, a funny thing. It wasn't really supposed to be anything big. And then for some reason, that video got a lot of frickin' views because apparently there's a lot of people who like that. And ever since then, after a long time, I felt really, really guilty about weight loss because of how these people really seem to like those videos. But at the same time, I feel like I couldn't, like, if I were just making videos all about the belly fat, that's just not me. I don't feel like, I did that once as a fun thing and sometimes I'll do that, but I don't want to be a belly fat jiggle freaking channel, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to do what I love. And, right now I am trying to lose weight, lose those belly fat because I feel like it's going to make me healthier. I can't live my life like doing what others want just because they want it. I have to do it for me because I'm the one that's living my life. If I just get fatter and fatter and just like, to please some people who really likes it, like I feel bad that like I can't satisfy everyone's needs, but at the same time, I know I'm the one living my life. I can't just freaking get fat and get unhealthy and then like, satisfy certain people, but in the risk of my own health. I'm not going to do that. I do my best to keep a good weight, but at the same time, I have to focus on what makes me feel really, really good. And that's like, I have to let go of the pressure because I feel like my whole life, a thing that I battled with the most is anxiety. So I'm worried about this and worried about that. I fear this and fear that. A lot of jobs that I've taken in the past, I quit because I was scared, because I was stressed out, I should say. I was just stressed about disappointing people. I stressed because I was scared of how people would react. I just didn't feel comfortable around certain people. It was always this stress about certain people. Maybe I just had like bad experiences or bad luck, but whatever it is, I always felt so stressed that I quit because I got too stressed. And I know that's also why people, including myself, would give up on creating videos because it gets too stressful. So that's why right now, my number one goal isn't like figuring out how to grow this freaking channel. It's about how to not be stressed making videos. That's my number one goal. If I've like ever like come up with this one goal I want to succeed in life, my success will be that I never ever feel stressed making videos, because that will be the most success that I've ever achieved. Because all my life, I'm the type of person I can go full on in with everything when I'm excited and when I'm motivated. But as soon as that little bit of stress sets in, or as soon as I don't enjoy it, then I can't even like open the camera. I couldn't even like do it or even attempt it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people can force themselves to do things that they're not motivated to do. But if I feel that way, I just kind of like push it off and off. I kind of, in the beginning, I can notice a pattern. it's like I start to do it less and less and less until the feeling that I don't want to do it is so strong that I just one day I just stop altogether. That's usually how things go. I know my pattern by now. Like, I know how things are. And with all my interests, it's the same thing. I go through like a million different interests every day. Some days I'll be really into journaling. Other days I'll be really into gardening. Other days I'll be really into writing. Other days I'll be really into certain games. And other days I'll be really into, like, I'll go through a whole freaking circle. And one of my favorite things now that I'm doing is really just being able to follow, like, let the camera follow me around rather than me following the camera around. You know what I mean? As in, I'm allowing me to film the things that make me really, really happy rather than I'm trying to chase what's working, because I just feel like that will not work for me, and that may not work for a lot of people. For some people who are able to like handle that and they know, okay, this is a career, I gotta do this, that will work really well. But I just feel like I am 100% based on motivation. I have to be motivated to do that, to do anything. And if I'm not motivated, it's very difficult. And I know the number one way to kill my motivation, I don't know for other people, for me, is by stress. So anything that will cause stress will demotivate me. So if I'm worried about how people are going to respond, if I'm worried about how many people are going to like whatever thingy, not whatever, like, you know what I mean, I will just feel stressed, and the stress will ultimately become like a way of demotivation, and then it will eventually become quitting. So that's how it usually goes. And I've just been so embracing making videos because of my newfound freedom. Like, I feel free right now to make the kind of content that I really want. So I feel comfortable with, like, if I really want to draw today, that's what I might focus on. If I want to make videos of the trains, that's what I will do, because that's just what makes me happy at that moment. I don't want to feel like I'm trapped into this box and that I cannot make what I really want to, because to me that is like having someone rip my soul out. Like, I just couldn't imagine doing that. And I've heard this a lot where people feel like, you know, they start off with wanting to make videos, they're really happy, and then one video pops off, they get really, really, really huge amount of views, or like they blow up from that one video, and suddenly they feel like they have to do that kind of video. And then that's how they usually get boxed into this category of, oh, I make videos on this, and then they feel like they can't make videos on anything else. I also feel like at one stage, I'm glad I never got that big, like, you know, the big viral hit, because I'm just so glad I didn't, because I just imagine myself being the only like unboxing channel or only freaking belly fat channel. God, I just cannot imagine that. I would be miserable if I was only one type of channel, because I kept doing that thing because it worked. I am lucky. So sometimes I feel like the best thing you could ever hope for is not to go freaking viral, because like everyone thinks, oh, once I get popular, everything's gonna work out. Oh wow, like, oh, if only I can just get this hit. And then you don't think of the consequences that come with that, like the stress. The stress is the thing that really, really like gets me. It's like, it must come with so much stress, because suddenly you've got all these eyes on you, they're expecting things, and you feel like, oh, I can't disappoint them. And that's actually a reason why I often tend to quit Instagram a lot when I'm used to post there a lot more. Nowadays I kind of just do it without even like, you know, I just do it randomly. I don't have any set time, whatever. But I remember in the past, I would make this new account, right? I'd make the new Instagram account. I was like, ditch the old ones, make a new one. As the day I make the frickin' Instagram account, I feel so liberated. I'm like, I can post anything I want. I can just post. So I make like 30 posts so on the first day. It's like all these things, and then suddenly I get like a few followers, and oh my god, all of a sudden like I feel like I can't post anything. It's like, oh god, what if they don't like it? What if they unfollow? It's like all these thoughts come to your head. Like, have you ever experienced that? Because I have in the past. It's like I make all these accounts, and then I post all these things, I'm so happy, and then I get one follower or two, and I'm freaking out because I don't know what to do now. That's just so silly. And then I realized that I can't just keep doing this. I I can't just make a new account and like, you know, may as well just turn it private if I didn't want that. But in a way, it's so weird because we want the followers, but at the same time, we're like worried about what they're going to think. So that's what I tend to, my favorite thing to do is to put things on schedule because that really works for me. That way I know it's not going to be on today. It's going to be on at a random day. I'm not going to put too much emphasis on when it comes out. I'm just going to create my new stuff. And that's what I really enjoy doing because I love the creation. And I don't want to be so stressed out that I'm overthinking everything and then that I just wouldn't have fun. And if I don't have fun, what's going to happen? I'm going to quit. And yeah, and I decided that for me, if I want to work on one thing in life, and that is never to quit something. That is my biggest and ultimate goal because that's what I've done with everything to this day. I've quit everything that I did. A lot of times I quit for a period of time. Sometimes I might quit for good, but a lot of times I do quit for a period of time, like a year or two, and then I sometimes go back to it, and then I'll find fun things about it again, and then I will quit again when things get stressful. And I'll give you some examples of that, and you'll have to excuse my glasses. They're very annoying. Like, I hate how they freaking slip all the time. So like I should just like do this when I'm talking, like, oh, you know what, I can do this. Sorry. Anyway, so the things that I quit in the past are quite a lot of different things. I had a health website and a food blog. I used to write articles for them all the time, and I quit them because I gave myself this pressure of making 2 recipes a day. I don't know why I felt like that was something I had to do, but what usually happens with me is I go all in with something when I'm really excited. I do a lot, and then all of a sudden I hold that to my standard. So let's say I made 2 recipes on this day because I was really pumped and excited, and I just came up with the idea. I didn't force myself, I really just wanted to do it. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, 2 recipes a day? That's what you'll do from now on. So from then on, I'm like, I have to make 2 recipes a day, otherwise I'm not doing my job. And I put this pressure on myself, which really sucks because when you think about it, when you're pressured to make 2, sometimes you just can't think of it. And what are you going to do? So I burnt myself out by giving myself that silly pressure that I had to cook 2 recipes a day. And then when I felt pressure, I felt just like I didn't want to do it anymore. And then I just came up with all these excuses like why I can't continue. Like, oh, I moved countries. Oh, I can't use the same measuring spoons. Like, what kind of excuse is that, right? That's just an excuse and I know it. So the food blog was a thing. I also did a lot of other stuff. Like, I did, let's see, what are some of the other stuff? I know I did plushie making at one stage. I did plushie making and I was quite happy. Like, I was quite happy doing it until I started taking commissions. And that was a silly idea because I took commissions without actually realizing what I was good or bad at. And there were like some people would ask for a specific type of animal or some kind of pattern that I haven't come up with, and I would just stress over it so much, and oh god, I can't even I couldn't sleep or concentrate until I came up with the perfect pattern, because I am the type of person who wants to make people happy with my work. So like, I want to create the best plushie for them, or if it was art, I would want to make the best art for them. If it was whatever it was, I just want to make the best for them. I don't want to give them a crappy thing. That's why when I quit photography at one stage, because I just got so stressed about whether I would like take the best photos I could for them, because I wanted them to have the most perfect photos. So that was another stress. And the one thing that stands out with stress is my art. I love art all my life. I really enjoy drawing. I've always been creative. I loved like drawing things. And at one stage, like last year or the year before or something, I had a lot of fun drawing on the iPad. I was having so much fun. I drew like so many pictures like throughout the last, I think it was a period of 4 or 5 months when I just drew so many pictures. And I had so many folders in my like Procreate, and it was like, oh, June, July. And I had this great goal that I was going to draw every day of the year for a whole year. And then guess what happens? I burnt out. Why did I do that, you might ask? Simple. Because I gave myself pressure. Because I thought, you need to like make a video. I mean, not a video. You have to make a piece of art every day. Because that's what I did one day. I got so excited. I drew a whole piece of art in one day. I made an entire piece of art in one day with the coloring and everything. And for some reason, my brain was like, oh, that's what you can do? You'll do that from now on. So it's like without anyone even pressuring me, I said to myself, I better be freaking coming up with one piece of art every day, otherwise I'll be failing. And then from then on, I was so stressed out all the time. And I just like felt like, oh, what if I can't think of like the art? Or what if I can't think of an idea? And I just started freaking out and stressing so much to the point where I just can't seem to get ideas, because you'll find that when you're stressed about things, your ideas don't come as often or easily. So I had that issue as well. That's why I gave up art for a whole year, because I was just getting to a point where I'm too stressed. And then recently I came back to it. I was like, oh, and usually what actually gets me back into drawing is when I need a picture for myself. Like I need some kind of art for a thing that I want to work on, and I'm finding hard time. I'm having trouble finding commissioning like services and everything like that. So I'm like, I better do it myself. That's usually what gets me back into art. So recently I got back into art and I was like, oh, I just draw stuff. And I just realized how much fun I'm having just doing a little bit each time when I feel like it, rather than forcing myself to do this freaking marathon of drawing in a day and I have to finish this picture in one day. I just don't know why I did that to myself. And I know that's likely I might get back into thinking that once I'm doing more. I just might think, oh, you're doing it one a day again? That's what you'll do. But right now, what I'm really enjoying right now, I really am enjoying it. Just taking on the iPad during my downtime when I'm not doing anything else. It's like I'm just working on it. Even if I just work on one little tiny part of a sketch in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, that's good. That's all I need. I don't need to finish a piece of art in a day. Like, I need to stop giving myself that self-inflicted pressure, because I don't know why we do it. There's like a lot of people do this. I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people will put this pressure on themselves that they have to do this, even though nobody else is saying that. Like nobody, but we just feel like we have to. But what we don't realize is by putting that pressure on ourselves, we kind of make it unenjoyable. And in the end, what's going to happen is you're going to quit altogether if you really can't take that stress anymore. And that's not going to be any good for your overall run. So you rather do it slow if you want, it's going to be better if you do it slowly rather than try to just get 3 done a day. So I really feel like that it's so important. Like, of course, like you might be worried you're going to disappoint people if you don't produce a certain amount of work a day, but you have to remember what's worse is that you're going to burn out and stop altogether, or you're just doing it slower. I think slower will be much better than just burning out completely. So the stress is just so big. I have to really keep an eye on the stress, because without the stress, imagine how creative everyone will be if we were never stressed about it. Seriously, I sometimes think that if I didn't have the pressure and the stress, I would just be able to do everything. But nowadays, I actually do feel like I'm at that level. I'm almost at that level, but I'm still working on a little bit. You know what I also feel that's really strange is that, have you ever felt like we need permission? Like, I've always been afraid of posting the things that I really want. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I didn't have permission to. And when you hear some people say, oh, you can't do this, do that, you kind of just think, oh, I cannot. And then when you get permission is when you feel like, oh, I can do this. And I am really, really loving this feeling of being given permission. And now I want to be the type of person to give you permission. It's just like, I feel like it's so important. Why are we just spending all this time worrying about what other people are thinking or what they want when we're sacrificing ourselves? We're losing ourselves to satisfy everyone else. But in the end, it's just going to make it so unenjoyable. And believe it or not, it's going to get bad one day to the point where you're just going to want to quit altogether. Like in the beginning, you'll feel like a little nagging feeling. That's what I've had. A little nag, a little like discomfort, a little bit of and then gradually, day by day, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until one day you're going to be like, screw this whole thing. I'm not even doing it at all. That's what happened to me. I was just like, I just cannot handle this stress. Like, I don't want to do this anymore because it's not fun anymore. It's because the body knows that if you're stressed, then you can't, it wants you to be relaxed and happy. And when it's stressed, it's going to know, okay, that's not enjoyable. That's a lot of reasons why, like, I guess some people will say, like, don't make work out of your passion, because then it won't be as fun. But for me, I have to like work on something I'm passionate about, because for me, working on something I'm not passionate about is even worse. But I also have to make sure that it's not as stressful, and it has to be less like, for me, I feel like it needs to be not like done in a way that would just make me lose myself, because I feel like we don't have to do that. Who's to say we can only do things if we lose ourselves in the process, right? It's like, surely we can still be who we are, and it's just really important. I just feel so good right now, because I feel like I'm where I want to be in my mindset. It's like, and I feel like it's really because of just listening to a few people with a good mindset just got me to that place. So if you're finding that your mindset's not quite there yet, it always really helps to listen to people who are at the mindset you want to be. So because their certainty, their absolute, their way of talking confidently is just going to make you believe it. You're not going to be like, oh, I don't know. So you gotta listen to something that is like the confidence that you need. You need to listen to that, because that's how is going to be really good with getting that confidence. And that's what I did, and that's really helpful to me, because I'm just like, I'm not stressed about things anymore, and I'm really shocked. And now when I go back to seeing people's now when I see people like blowing up, I don't feel jealous anymore. I don't feel like, oh, I just want to be them. Oh, why can't I have that? I really don't feel that anymore. I feel so relaxed about where I am, and I'm not in a hurry, and I'm enjoying my, everything, and I just want to be feeling content and happy. That's very important to me. And I just feel so happy that I'm not worried about growth of a channel anymore and stuff like that. I feel so happy that I can just put my head down and just create, because that's the best thing. Like, if you're doing it because you have all these expectations and all these goals to reach, all these things, it's going to be hard, because you're just going to have to do things that work. And what if it's not something that you really enjoy? Like, what if it's something that you enjoy kind of, but not enjoy doing every day? And then you're suddenly going to feel like, oh, that's what I have to do every day. It's just going to be very, very suffocating. That's what I feel like. And so, yeah, that's all I have for today for this topic. I just hope that you're feeling good to be able to do the things that you really love. My wish is that you have the mindset to be able to live your best happy life, not the life that's most successful in accordance to people's success, meaning of success, but to live in the way that you feel the happiest, because that's going to be more important than anything else.